We're going to pull up the schedule and we're going to go through it and we're going to talk about it. So obviously the first game, we know what the first game is. There's no need to address it. We might as well just jump into it. It is Texas versus Ohio State at Ohio State. Gerald, final prediction for this game. What is it?
Man, I've been waffling on this one. This was the last one I filled in on my like pre-show prep. And I think we've seen now officially Julian Sain's been named the starter. I think we've been banking on that. I think gun to my head, I have to say Texas at this point. I think Texas is going to have the advantage, I think, at the running back spot. I think that's going to make a big difference in this game. Ohio State is not going to have either of those guys. Texas was a couple of plays away from beating last year's team that was better, right? Like it was, some weird calls and weird situations. Both, I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I've said it before. I think both of these offenses are going to take a bit. I think these are probably two of the best defenses in the country in week one facing off against new quarterbacks. So ultimately, though, again, I think it's going to be Texas. I think it's going to be a close game, probably a one-score game, a field goal game, but I think Texas goes in and gets it done.
No, I don't disagree. That's what I'm going with too. I've said for months, I placed a bet like all the way back in April at 3.5 points for Texas. It was at 3. I placed bets there. I placed bets at 2.5. It's going to continue to go down, I fully believe it. By the time the game's around, I bet it's at 1.5, and I will continue to place bets because I am super confident in this Texas team with what they bring back coaching staff wise. To me, that's the most important thing. It's really hard for me to believe you have all this cohesion on a coaching staff that's basically brand new on the offensive side of the ball with a new offensive line coach, new offense coordinator. Yes, he was there. And then you also have a new DC to throw into the mix who was not on staff. Neither was the offensive line coach. So I think Texas wins this game. If this is later in the year, I think it's a much harder game. It puts in more question in my head. But because it's week one, I think that favors Texas a lot, like the reason I picked them to beat Michigan last year. Michigan lost a lot on the coaching staff, not even really player-wise, but on the coaching staff, and that's why I picked them to beat Michigan. I have Texas winning this game 23-17.
I think that's fair. Again, that's a one-score game. I don't think it. Again, I think you and I are in agreement. Low-scoring game, one-score game. If you're a fan of defense, I think you're going to have a good time week one.
I agree. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on these next 3 games. Gerald, unless you have something to say here that I just don't know about, I think Texas is going to steamroll every one of these teams that we play after Ohio State.
My only thing I want to say is I'd love to see Texas play at the Sun Bowl in a non-conference game. Sun Bowl, low-key, one of the most underrated, iconic locations in college football. Other than that, got nothing to say about these next 3. I think Texas rolls in this one.
Okay, and then no offense to those 3 teams, but those are kind of bye weeks before an actual bye week, so you kind of have a month of practice, basically, in my opinion. And then you go to Florida, and I am going to predict Texas to lose at Florida. I don't feel great about this. I felt very confident that Florida would probably beat us going into the season up until about 2-3 weeks ago when DJ Lagway started having those nagging injuries, and I hate to hear that because guess what? I like to see him play. 1, 2, he's a really good player, and that's their chance to beat us, which I'm fine. If he doesn't play and we beat him, awesome, because I think there's a real chance at that point we could go 12-0. But I think they do get us. I think going down to the swamp during that time period when they're probably relatively healthy since it's early in the season, I believe they have a bye as well going into the game. I think DJ Lagway will be able to go, and I think their defense is much improved after changing defensive coordinators. And I think their offense is going to be pretty explosive this year. They have a really good offensive line, and Jaden Ball's a really, really talented running back. I actually think he might be the best running back in the SEC. And then you have guys like Eugene Wilson and Dallas Wilson. I think they're going to beat Texas.
Yeah, this is one that I was waffling on as well during my previews. I don't have faith in DJ Lagway being healthy. That's the thing that has kept me from really, picking Florida, just because we don't know about DJ Lagway's health. And there are just some guys that struggle to stay healthy. And DJ Lagway, unfortunately, has been one of them. I want to see him play. I want to be successful. I also like it when Texas wins. And if he doesn't play, I think Texas rolls in this one. Defense travels, thankfully. So Texas is going to be a solid defensive team. Again, I think I have Texas winning this one, but I wouldn't be shocked if it went the other way.
Maybe, or hopefully not for our sake, that Arch Manning doesn't have the Peyton Manning gene where he can never beat Florida. So hopefully that didn't happen. Next up, We go into Dallas, the Cotton Bowl, when we play Oklahoma. And when we get to the SEC prediction, guys, I'm gonna be straight up honest right now. I'm pretty damn high on Oklahoma because I think it's basically impossible to have as many injuries as they did last year. But I do think we beat them. I don't think they're going to be good enough offensively. I think their offensive line is going to struggle in this game versus our defensive line. I think it's a relatively low-scoring game because guess what? They have a very good defense as well, probably one of the top 10 best in America. So I think it's a relatively low-scoring game, but I trust Texas's defense a little bit more than I trust Oklahoma's defense. And I think Arch Manning's more capable of making plays versus their defense than John Mateer is versus our defense.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to for me as well. I think when you look at a defensive battle, because OU, I'm not going to take any shots at their defense. Like Brent Venables knows how to coach a defense. They're a very talented unit. They're a well-coached unit. But when you have two defenses that are going to be really, really good, then you got to look at which offense is going to be able to move the ball more, which quarterback do you trust more? And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. I'm kind of a John Mateer truther yet. I need to see it against Power 5 teams before I buy the John Mateer hype. Go look at his stats from last year. His two worst games were against the only two Power 5 teams he played. He feasted on a lot of lesser opponents. Now, that's not to say he's not going to be good, nor could he be good. I'm just saying I need to see it before I believe it. And so that means I'm taking Arch Manning in this one. I've seen it. I rewatched the Mississippi State game earlier today, actually, being able to just kind of getting back in the vibe of things. And so ultimately, I really think Texas wins this one again. I think they get a streak going against OU.
Victor says 24-13. I think that's definitely reasonable. I mean, that's 17-13, and then Texas pushing over a late touchdown, 24-13, definitely possible. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't think we lose either of these two games coming up between Kentucky and at Mississippi State, but one of these games is going to be a lot closer than it should be. That's how I feel. I don't think you're going to run through the SEC road schedule and come out, perfectly unscathed. And you may win them all, but it's going to be really hard. And I'm pretty high on Mississippi State this year. I think they're going to be compared to what we think Mississippi State is. So I think they're going to make it a little bit closer game. I do think we beat Kentucky, but that is a really hard place to play. We've seen Georgia play there, and they've struggled there for whatever reason. We've seen LSU go there, struggle a little bit. We've seen Florida go there recently and struggle versus Kentucky. So I think that's a really hard game. And I also think Mississippi State is a hard game as well. But I'm going to group those two together, and I think we win both those games.
Yeah, I don't. My personal feelings on Jeff Lebby aside, Jeff Lebby is a really talented offensive coach, and he was able to move the ball against Texas last year with a team that's worse than the one he's going to trot out there at home, right? So I think that one definitely could get a little tight, get a little iffy for Texas in spots. I think they're going to move the ball. Again, I think Texas defense wins out. Defense travels. Ultimately, I think Texas wins that one, but I think they're going to I think Jeff Lebby knows how to move the ball against Texas.
At home versus Vanderbilt, this is the first home game in over a month. I think we are going to beat the ever-living you-know-what out of Vanderbilt. I don't think this game's going to be close. It was honestly, the score was way closer than it should have been last year. They had a lot of fluke plays, and Vanderbilt, to me, was the team last year. They caught people by surprise because of the way they play football and because it's Vanderbilt. Well, guess what? With Diego Pavia running his mouth and everyone has a whole year of game film now, that is no longer the case. They are going to be circled now because of what their quarterback says and the way they played offense. I think Texas is going to beat them by 21-plus points.
I don't disagree. I think that's probably fair. I think Pavia has probably put a pretty big target on their back for sure. So yeah, that one, I think Texas rolls.
Bye week, and then we head to Athens, a showdown with the Bulldogs. I'm going to be honest, guys. There's one game on the schedule. If you could guarantee me a win, it's this one. I am sick, absolutely sick of hearing Georgia fans talk, and it's not about this. It's about literally everything else. I've never heard a fan base win 2 national championships in the past 5 years and cry about losing recruits to another team. I've never heard it. I don't understand it. I would, if we ever win 2 national championships in 5 years, you will never hear me cry about losing recruits. I will look at you and say, guess what? Look at these rings on my finger. I do not care about recruiting that much right now. They don't. They cry all the time about it. So I'm picking Texas to win this game. They should have beat them in the SEC championship game. That game still pisses me off. We were the better team. We let that one slip away. The first game they dominated. They kicked our ass. The second game we should have won. I'm going to take Texas to win this one in Athens.
I don't know. This one, again, it's still terrifying. Again, maybe it's PTSD, maybe it's shell shock. This just feels like one of those that Is it going to be the albatross for Sark? Is it going to be the, hey, it could be, and again, I'm thinking of like, I'm not saying Texas is going to win the national championship, but like Ryan Day won a national championship. And I heard a podcast literally this morning that an Ohio State fan said, if he doesn't beat Michigan, we should fire him. Like, I definitely am terrified of this game, especially going to Athens. They're going to be jazzed up. And if things are shaky, again, last year we saw it. Georgia was shaky every week except for the ones that they lined up against Texas, right? And so I don't know what Kirby Smart is doing. I don't know what lever he's pulling. He's going to have plenty of them to pull this year. And so this is the one loss I actually have on the schedule. I think Texas gets it back with the conference championship. But I do think that I think Georgia gets this one on the road. I don't think Texas goes through it unscathed.
No, I think that's completely fair. Next game up is Arkansas. Guys, I think by this time, Sam Pittman is fired. I think this is in haywire. I don't even know who would take over because I doubt they promote Bobby Petrino to head coach. That would kind of shock me. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I think they do. I think Petrino's an interim for sure. I think they hired him last year to put him in at the interim. That's always been my spicy take.
Okay, well, that would be crazy because that's the best photo ever taken with him in a neck brace at the
road rash on the yes. Just awful.
Yeah. So I think Texas beats the you-know-what out of Arkansas. I don't think they're a very good team. And again, you're playing them late when I think they basically quit because I think that's what you're going to get. It's kind of hard for me to believe they turn into, a decent team, which they were last year. You have teams fall off. Like in the middle of the pack in the SEC, you have teams that either rise or fall back down. I think it's the team that falls back down to the lower tier this year in the SEC.
Got it. Okay. I think that's again, Arkansas, I love to hate you. Hopefully, the problem is I like Sam Pittman. Sam Pittman is a very likable dude.
Yeah,
he's a very, very likable dude. I don't want him to be unsuccessful, but I think Texas beats the brakes off them, probably because Sam Pittman's not there anymore.
For the first time in over a decade, Texas A&M is coming to Austin. And I'm a lot higher on this Texas A&M team than most are right now as well. When we get into the SEC predictions, I'll show you how high I am. Texas fans probably aren't going to be too happy with how high I am, but I do think Texas wins this game. I think Texas is the better football team. I think, honestly, it's just the birthright of Texas at this point. When you look at the history of the rivalry to beat A&M, until they beat us, I'm not going to say they're going to beat it. Until they do it on the field, I'm not going to predict that they're going to do it.
I think the way that Texas A&M is going to have to win games this year plays into Texas's hands, right? I think A&M has a ton of talent. They have, I will say, one of the best running back tandems in the country, right? There's no two ways around it. Moss and Ruben Owens is one of the best 1-2s in the country. And that takes a lot of pressure off of Marcel Reed to be the playmaker. But I think the way that they are going to have to win games, it's going to be very much a Colin Klein, Kansas State type of thing where you have a quarterback running a lot. You have a lot of zone read. You have a lot of option plays. You have a lot of zone running. And I think Texas's defense is built to play that type of defense. I think Pete Kwiatkowski is going to have a very good time game planning for that game. Anything can happen in this rivalry game. I was there for all sorts of weird things that happen in this rivalry. But ultimately, I think when it comes down to both X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's, I think the way that Pete Kwiatkowski schemes, and I think the talent that Texas has on the defensive side plays really well. I think A&M is going to have one of the top rushing attacks in the country this year. I think their offense is going to look a lot better than people give them credit for. Again, I think Marcel Reed is going to thrive in a fully Colin Klein offense for him. But I think Texas has the horses to get it done.
Yeah, I agree. I think their offense is going to be a lot better because I think their offensive line's better. Marcel Reed, another year in the system. They have Le'Veon Moss, who wasn't there last year when we played him. And they have better wide receivers like Kevin Concepcion coming over from NC State is way better than anyone they had last year at the wide receiver position. So I do think A&M is definitely going to be better offensively. I think they take a slight step back on defense, though.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they lost a ton of talent, so there's no two ways that they don't.
Yeah, this is a crazy stat. In the past 8 to 9 years, Georgia is 47-1 at home. Hey, Alabama, I believe, had like a 30-game win streak, and we went in there and won as well. So I think we're able to do that. We haven't lost a road game in 2 years with Steve Sarkisian the last 2 years, which is crazy to say. So that streak could end week 1, too, versus Ohio State. But, I mean, if we go Ohio State, Florida, and Georgia and win those games on the road, we may not lose another road game for a while, guys, because that's 3 of the top 10 environments in college football. I don't think you're going to have that again on next year's schedule.
Yeah, it'll be tough to see. It'll be tough to see that happening for sure.